Hello guys, welcome to the 3D market commentary this morning. Today is August 23rd. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend and ready for a great trading week ahead. Let me just cover the disclaimers whilst we're here, obviously to make sure that those are covered. There they are up in the top left hand corner, so by all means please read them. It's important for legal reasons and also for expectation reasons to understand that these kind of videos are demonstrations and not necessarily indicative of the results you may receive. Okay, so my name is Becky. My email address is here, becky@tradictive.com. There's also support@tradictive.com, so you can email us if you have any questions. There's also another link you can go to. Let's try and get that up now. Let's do this. So it'll be tradewithufos.com/Becky. That should load there. My internet's been a bit slow today, so that's my fault. That's taking a while. tradewithufos.com/Becky. Then you can get yourself a free Trade with UFOs membership up here. And then you can scroll down and ask a question in this area. Now what's good about that is if you ask a question in public, we can answer it in public, which means that everybody can learn from this place. Everybody can come and find questions that have previously been put there and see the answers. So you might have a question answered by those that have come before you, or you might be doing somebody else that favour by putting a question in there for the next person to come and have a look at. So by all means, if you feel comfortable, please post your questions there. It's tradewithufos.com/Becky. Okay, so let's get the 3D market commentary up. There you go. We call it a news flash as well. That may also come through to your emails like that. Once you have your free Trade with UFOs membership, you will receive this email every day. Now this email is essentially a snapshot of what is going on in the markets at the time that we produce it, which is just before the US market open. And what we want to look at are three major elements for 5 major world markets. So the 3 major elements, hence the 3D approach, are as follows. So the first one is market climate, upcoming market direction, meaning where do we have probabilities? Do we have probability up and therefore we should probably buy? Or do we have probability down and therefore we should probably sell? Sometimes we don't have enough probability either way, in which case we do nothing. But we want to know the answer to that. Should we be buying, selling, or doing nothing? We use an app to help us, which is here. Our Auto Climate app. It's a free app on most platforms you can use it on. And with this app, if we ignore the lines for now and just focus on the dots, we can see where the probabilities lie. Because if it's a thick blue dot, that tells us probability is up. We should probably look to buy. If it's a thick red dot, like one of these, that tells us probability is down, we should look to sell. If it's a thin dot of either colour, say one of these or one of these, that tells us not enough probability, do nothing. So that question is answered by this app, by technology doing the work for us. Then we want to know, if we're going to buy, where are we going to buy? And if we're going to sell, where are we going to sell? That's where UFOs come in. UFO stands for unfilled orders. And essentially, again, it's an app, it's a piece of technology that show us where we should be buying and selling. We have green UFOs with relevant price numbers on the side or price values on the side. That tells us where buyers are. Now that's important because if we want to buy where there's lots of other buyers because it's more likely to push price up. The only way price can go up is if there's more buying than selling. So we want to know where those buyers are. Same with sell orders. These red UFOs, again with relevant numbers on the right hand side, they show us where the sellers are. And again, important to know because if we want to sell where there's lots of other sellers because they're more likely to push price down, which is what we want to happen if we're selling. So again, we use an app to help us with this, to figure out exactly where to buy and sell. Then what we want to know is market volatility. How quickly can we expect these markets to move? Gives us an idea of the relevant risk and reward. So we'll go through each of these 3 concepts per each of our 5 markets, major world markets. Hopefully at least you're trading something related to these things. They are very big. And we're looking at everything on a daily chart. Now, of course, different things happen on different time frames. This is relevant to daily charts specifically. Okay, so let's look at the first market, which is the S&P 500. We're looking at the ES, which is the futures for it. Essentially, if you don't have any clue what I just said, we are looking at a representation of US stocks. That's what we're looking at. Now, looking at the US stock market, we have an unconfirmed climate. We have a very thin dot there. Slightly hard to see, but it is a thin dot. That tells us there's not enough probability either way, and therefore we don't want to do anything. No point trading if we don't have probabilities at least one way or the other. Unless you're trading option strategies, other than that, most of us are trading in one direction or the other, up or down. And so if we don't have probabilities up or down, kind of best to do nothing. Move on to a different market, change time frame, go to where you have probabilities. Now in terms of buy orders, we have buy orders down here, no sell orders above us, buy orders down here at 41.23 to 40.55.50. Those are our closest buy orders, which are quite a way down, a good 300 odd points down there. So overall, nothing close to us to tell us that it's likely to move up or down, and no climate that's given us a clear reason either. So overall indecision there on the US stock market. Now, based on volatility, we'd expect movement up or down in 1 year of 18.7%. That tells us that in 1 day, movement up or down of 52.43 points. In a week, it would be 115.41 points up or down. And in 1 month, movement up or down of 240.25 points up or down. That's the S&P. All right, moving on to the next market, which is oil. In the meantime, it says there about educating yourself. We do a whole bunch of courses on stocks, futures, forex, backtesting, trading plan, psychology. So you can take any one of those if you think it would be helpful. Most of them actually come with 3-month complimentary access to the apps. Now, AutoClimate is a free app on most platforms. You can use it on anyway. AutoUFOs is a paid-for app. It's a subscription. You can subscribe directly to it if you want to. You don't have to do a course. A lot of the times, because of what the courses are priced at and what the UFOs are priced at, depending on which platform you use, actually works out cheaper to access the UFOs for 3 months and get a course than it is to just subscribe to the UFOs and use them for 3 months. But check it out, figure out what works best for you and go from there. Right, so looking at oil, we have a confirmed downwards climate. We have a thick red dot here, probability to the downside, meaning if we were going to pick it, we would be looking to sell. Now, we do have statistics here that tell us that usually this market goes down for 6.56 candles. I'm just going to round that up because you can't have a percentage of a candle, so we're going to say 7 candles. Usually it goes down for 7 candles and we're on candle number 7. So be aware we might be running out of steam to the downside, although we do still have probability there. Now in terms of sell orders, we have sell orders just above us here at 67.23 to 64.17. That's our closest stack of sell orders. And they are already working to push price down. Price has hit them and come back down a little bit, so we should be aware of that. We then have buy orders here, 60.77 to 58.73. They worked already a while back to push price up. This top line is perhaps hard to see, but 60.77, that top line was being highlighted to us weeks ago and showed us where price was likely to turn from, where it was likely to go up from. That's why we want to use these kind of apps. That's why we want to know where the buyers and sellers are, so we can buy with the buyers and sell with the sellers. So overall with oil, we are closer to the sell orders. In fact, we've just hit them again here in the context of a downwards climate. And we've got a little space before we hit buy orders. So overall probability down there with oil. Now notice I say things like probability. I'm not saying it's definite. Nothing is guaranteed ever, let alone in the markets. So we still would manage our risk. We would still use different variables perhaps to increase our probability rate, but we at least want to know where the probabilities lie. For the case of crude oil on a daily chart, we have overall probabilities to the downside for the time being. Now in terms of movement on oil, we would expect it to move up or down in 1 year of 40.67%, which is in a day up or down of 1.64 points, in a week 3.61 points, and in 1 month 7.51 points, either up or down. Okay, moving on to the next market, which will be gold. Let's have a look there. Now it says there about coaching and support. We offer a bunch of coaching and support online for free. You can join us on YouTube and LinkedIn and all kinds of different platforms, and you can join in our sessions. We also have a closed coaching environment, which gives you guys access to more of our time in a closed environment. So you can check that out as well if you'd like to access more content. Okay, so with gold, we have an unconfirmed climate. It's a thin dot. That tells us not enough probability either way, kind of indecision in this market. Now we have buy orders down here at 1759.6 to 1742.6, And we have sell orders up here at 1835.9 to 1799.7. We're closer to the sell orders, so we may see that price hits these sell orders and comes down a little bit before it hits the buy orders. Overall, not enough probability either way to call it though, because the climate is unconfirmed, it's undecided. In terms of volatility with gold, we'd expect in a year movement up or down of 15.34%, which tells us in one day movement up or down of 17.3 points. In a week, up or down of 38.09 points, and in 1 month it would be 79.28 points up or down. So that is gold. Now moving on to the next market, which is the US dollar. Let's do that before we move on to the next one. The US dollar is responsible for about 80% of transactions worldwide daily. Be aware of it. It will impact, I'm sure, a lot of the markets that you could be trading. So with the US dollar, we have a confirmed upwards climate, a thick blue dot, probability upwards. Usually the market would go up for 5 candles. I'm just rounding that up. We're on candle number 4. So still room for it to move up at least another day based on what usually happens. Of course, sometimes we go past what's usual or we fall short of what's usual. That's how we kind of come up with that number in the middle, right? So just because it may get to the end of that doesn't mean it won't surpass it. It just means it starts to lack probabilities or all of the probabilities that we would want it to have. Now we have buy orders here that have just been hit at 93.275 to 92.945. We would expect them to push price upwards. That's what we expect buy orders to do. So we'll see what happens there. And then we have sell orders up here at 95.375 to 94.775. We would expect those to push price down, but of course price has got a little way to go before it hits them. So overall, probability up with the climate, and we've just hit buy orders. Overall probability up there with the US dollar. Now in terms of volatility, we'd expect in 1 year movement up or down of 5.42%, which is 0.32 points in a day, 0.7 points up or down in a week, and 1.46 points up or down in 1 month. That's the US dollar. Now last market is backed Bitcoin. Now it says here about interested but have questions. You may be thinking, I don't know if I want to use AutoClimate or AutoUFOs or both, or how do I use them, or what do I need to do? By all means, self-schedule a clarification call, chat with one of our experts and see what works out best for you. Now with Bitcoin, we have a confirmed upwards climate, thick blue dot. Now something to bear in mind with Bitcoin is that it's not as old as the other markets. Bitcoin hasn't been around as long as the US dollar or the US stock market or gold or oil, which means we don't yet have enough data on it to say what usually happens. It's just not been around long enough. So we're a little bit in the dark there. What we do know is that we're on candle number 23 to the upside, but we don't know whether or not that's normal, whether or not that's overextended or underextended. Now we have buy orders here at 47,167.5 to 43,945. Those are where we have buy orders. We then have sell orders here at 57,975 to 54,500. So we would expect if price were to hit the sell orders, they would come down a little bit. If price were to come back and hit the buy orders, they'd go up a little bit. For the time being, we are using our climate to give us probability there to the upside. Now in terms of volatility, Bitcoin is much more volatile than the others, so be aware of it. Bear in mind we looked at the US dollar and we normally expect between 5 and 6% per year movement. You might see 40%, 30% on oil. You might see 16, 15% on the US stock market. On Bitcoin, we're looking at 163.51% movement up or down in a year, so quite significantly more than the other markets. Not a good or bad thing, just be aware of it. That means in a day, movement up or down of 5,208.28 points. In a week is 11,465.49, and in 1 month is 23,867.32. So that's almost, if we look at what the price is valued at now, around about 50,000, that's almost 50% movement up or down in a month. That's a lot. So be aware of it. Not good or bad, just be aware of it. Now we can also use the weekly economic calendar. We get this from fxstreet.com to see what might be impacting the markets where we could see volatility. We filter by high impact news, so again scheduled news reports that would be likely to cause movement in the markets. So for example, today being Monday, we had news coming out early in the morning on the euro and the pound. This is US times, and later on today we may have some news coming out on the New Zealand dollar. that of course could impact those trades if we're in markets relevant to those countries and to those currencies. So bear that in mind. So what we've done, just to clarify, we have come through each of these markets and we've looked at the climate, where the probability lies, up, down or nowhere, using an app that helps us figure that out. We've then looked at buy and sell UFOs, where we have buy orders and sell orders that could push price either up or down, where they are. We've then looked at market volatility, how quickly we can expect these markets to move or how far we expect them to move within given periods of time, to give you an idea of potentially how risky or how rewarding they could be depending on whether or not you're right or wrong. So hopefully that made sense. Any questions, you can email us at either support@tradictive.com or becky@tradictive.com. And there's also tradewithufos.com/Becky, where you can get your free Trade with UFOs membership at the top here. And then you can scroll down and ask a question in this area so I can answer it there and other people can see the answer and we can all learn together from this place. Okay, I will be back with you guys on Thursday. My colleague Boyan will be taking this session on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so he'll be with you tomorrow. I'll be back on Thursday. If you need anything, please get in touch. Otherwise, guys, see you soon. Have a great trading week ahead.